Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Go Mango Tokucast. I'm your host, the Frozen Stratos. Here with me today we have...
Makotoa.
It's like you had to think about that for a second. Anyways, on today's show, we're going to be taking a look at Space 37 of Uchuu Sentai Kyuranger. And... boy, it was an episode they attempted to have. I was not on board until the end. Mostly because of... it all centered around a really emotional story for Lucky. And it was something about either the writing, directing, or the acting that just couldn't get that drama across that well.
I think it was definitely the writing, because I don't see how this... Maybe the acting too, but...
I don't want to definitively say the writing.
But I do really think it's the writing, because there were other ways that you could have had this go about. And, I mean, like I mentioned, I think in our watch-along, which you should watch along...
Oh boy, you tried.
Okay.
Just like this episode.
Yes, and just like in the watch-along, I mentioned that they did do a surprise or a twist that I wasn't expecting, and none of us really were expecting. That his dad was already dead, and this was just an imposter. But even if it was surprising, it didn't necessarily make the storytelling better, because it kind of fell flat as a result. There wasn't really any character resolution very much. He said, "Yosha Lucky, now I can avenge my father."
No, see, that is exactly the problem with this episode. It's his whole gimmick to be positive by nature, but it's gotten to a point where it's very inhuman. I get that maybe he's saying it as a coping mechanism. I understand that. And what they're trying to say is that it takes a lot of strength to find, I guess, any sort of positive in the moments where, in one of the darkest moments, it turns out your father's dead. I think it
should have hurt him more.
Yeah, no, exactly.
We should have waited on that moment for a little while.
Right? He cried. Yeah. He looked emotionally damaged, but to immediately jump to his catchphrase.
Yeah.
That was not human. It didn't feel human
He has
enough.
An entire team of support. They could have pulled any of the many characters to, help out, which, even when they were kind of talking about his dad before they showed up, even Stinger kind of said something that helped show that, Stinger could relate to him about this family, individual he really cares about. And, or, you could have had Garu, step in and say something. Any of the characters really could have stepped in and said something to Lucky to kind of encourage him and refocus his mind so he could get back to that, Yosha Lucky thing. But,
the problem is, this has happened before. He's gotten down on his luck. Actually.
Yeah.
That's happened before, and it legitimately affected him, and it shook him, and it reminded him of his past, his depressing past. Mm-hmm. And it took the strength of his friends to get him out of it. Now, what makes it different here is that he does that all on his own. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it would send a more powerful message if he were to take the support from his friends. And he has, like you said, a big support base, but now it's a deeper, more meaningful, foundation. Mm-hmm. And not just that, it would also play into the themes of leadership, and it's not all on you necessarily.
Yeah, that would.
But you can draw strength from others, and considering he stepped up as king this episode.
Burger King.
Yes. No, man.
I'm sorry, you were.
If he's stepping up as king, I understand that he needs to inspire strength and courage in his people, and being able to stand on his own. That's very strong.
It just didn't feel realistic what happened, right?
It didn't.
It felt like, and he had such a supportive cast that could have filled that role and made it work really well.
Yeah.
And I mean, there were other ways that the show could have gone about it with the situation with his father, but I think that was just one easy thing in my mind that could have been used to really let that moment sink, and then have him come out of it because of the individuals he's inspired, make it go 360, even with Garu. I mean, Garu did it in the episode where Lucky was down on his luck, but I think any of the characters could have done that and it would have worked.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely would have liked to see something from Garu, considering he is the one that was all insecure about not being his best friend, or something like you were talking about earlier from Stinger. That would have been powerful.
Yes,
it's always the silent ones speaking up that bring a lot of weight to their words, because they say so few that it truly means something when they say it. And you can argue that he did toward the beginning when he said, "Hey, we got your back," or whatever. But that was a general sort of thing.
Yeah.
Had he smacked him in the face and said, "Hey, you gotta," or I don't know, not pull together. Actually, that would be pretty bad. Now that I think about it, them saying, "Hey, don't be sad, friggin', don't do that."
They could have been they could have just gathered around him and been like, "We're here for you."
Yeah. That would have been nice.
We're your family now, that kind of thing or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Also, what the hell was that? The team this episode, the colors were just not there. It was and I feel like this extends to Kamen Rider this week too. Everything looked so bland. Nothing was vibrant enough.
I mean, maybe the Zord fight at the end had a lot more color going on, but
yeah,
for the episode, and then there was a lot of that whole it's overcast and then it rained, and that was kind of an actual plot point. So maybe that has something to do with it, but
I don't know. I just, there was something about this week in general. I really feel like the hiatus should have happened this week, and the episodes we got happened last week, so that we could be ready in anticipation for the exciting stuff coming next week. Sure, it was cool to see Lucky ascend to the throne, but it wasn't as good of a foot to jump back on.
It could have been a good ending point at that.
Yeah,
point.
and Bill really sort of stumbled in episode 10. So and next week we're basically getting Dragon Week next week.
Right.
We're getting a story of Banjo, and we're getting a story of
Shonan Pole.
Yeah, Shire. Good old Dragon Master.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and I just we haven't seen him do too much in a while, so it'll be pretty nice.
You know what else before we move on from the whole Lucky father thing?
Yeah.
While we were talking about it, it kind of reminded me that our previous Sentai crew also had the protagonist have just a bad episode with his father issues.
I don't know.
I don't know,
I wouldn't say
coincidence?
bad. I wouldn't say bad. I just think it really conflicted with everything else going on.
Where it just didn't work.
Like, structurally, it wasn't bad. No, structurally, it was bad, but emotionally and, like, with the characters and everything, you can still get swept up in this. This, however, it felt structurally okay. Like, they gave it enough time. They certainly gave it enough time to do what it was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. It just didn't do it right. And none of the factors that would have led it to be good were there. Well, not none, but
thinking back, I remember,
not enough of them.
I remember, like, the actors putting in the work when Amu, like, you know, had to sort of yell at Yamato,
yeah.
You know, and tell him, hey, you know, you can't just leave your father, like, and not do anything about it, right? You can't.
Yeah, how can you stand there and run away from your family when we can't even run 2 hours?
That hurt.
Yeah, that did. But you see that emotion still worked. I'm getting a little worked up right now.
Seriously.
It doesn't work here because the characters don't feel as human.
No, it didn't feel believable, especially in the going back comparison to Yamato, when Yamato had those, like, outbursts at points where in frustration that, like, and then, like, the crew
I remember it. Yeah. Like, it was the end of a Zord battle. They had been triumphant. Yeah. It was this cool sequence where all the Zyojers leaped out of the Zord cockpit and beat up the villain of the week.
Yeah.
As a huge monster. And then Yamato just had this freak out and smashed his cube.
Yep.
Ugh. Anyway, we're not talking about Zyuohger. Yeah, it really sucks that I guess maybe some of the response of Zyuohger was that, like, since Zyuohger wasn't good, we can't have just, like, a really well-rounded Red Ranger. Because Lucky has hints of something greater, but they just can't touch on it.
They're trying to bring him out of the one dimension.
And it's not working that well. They're putting themselves in situations
where it could have worked, right? It could have been.
Where character is supposed to happen, but they choose routes that really stifle any sort of character.
He stays very true to the tropes, but it could have, right? Like, saying your one-liner, like, encouraging speech type thing, and gambaru and gambatane and hard work and friendship is like, it could have been more of a struggle for him, and it could have felt like more of a human character, but like you're saying, it didn't land on those notes, and it didn't really work out that way.
And on top of that, all the quote-unquote lessons that he learns only leads him to the same conclusion that he was at before. So that just means dude was perfectly fine before. He just deviated from the path a little bit. Oh, and now we're back. We're back. It's like stretching a little bit and then elasticing back into the original shape. Okay. We're trying to change him, but he just snaps back. I don't know. Yeah, I think that really just about does it for the coverage. The fight scene was pretty great this episode, though. Yeah, I was watching through it to find the thumbnail. Oh, boy. That was great.
They've always got something fun to, like, throw in there.
They do. Yeah, that part where the villain of the big bad, he was like, "Oh, yeah, that all you got? Give me more!" And then he brings out all the weapons and just shoots them all at him. That was dope. Oh, you asked for it, dude.
It was good.
Anyway, I think that just about does it for us. If you like this episode, hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear more from us each week. We'll be back here next week doing the exact same thing. And hey, why don't you hit that eye icon right there, and it'll take you to our Let's Play of Chroma Squadron, a Super Sentai Power Rangers based RPG game where we voice the characters, if that's to your liking. Anyways, guys, I think that just about does it for us. Keep it juicy.
Later.